Adventure Ho Illumineers, and welcome back to another episode of the DuckTale Dads. I'm one of your hosts, Nathaniel, joined as always by Mac. Sadly, no Ryan tonight, but we are joined by three other folks tonight. We are joined by Konnor, as well as Christian and Hannah, guests of the podcast. I believe this is the third, maybe more time for y'all on the podcast, but some recent DLC participants joining us. Can't wait to hear all about your experience in Indianapolis, as well as some other recent happenings around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area for Set Champ season. But before we get into any of the Lorcana stuff, gotta talk about what is new in your world. Mac, I'll kick it over to you.
There's been a lot that has happened in my world recently because I was on vacation last week, none other than Disneyland itself. So I was still taking it all in with Disney, very much on brand with what's going on here. Took my little ones and my side of the family. We all went to Disneyland. It was a blast. Our boys loved it. I went in with very low expectations. I told my wife and all the adults, like, my only expectation is to make sure we get to the park each day and home from the park each day. I could care less what happens while we're there, as long as the children are having fun and having a good time and not getting super cranky. And overall, it was a blast. So we had a really, really good time. Another thing that happened over the course of the last week is that my youngest turned 4. His birthday is today of recording. So he had a very big Spider-Man themed birthday weekend, because we had family one day, friends another day, and then today was more just our immediate family. We got to go out to dinner and just hang out, just the 4 of us. So that was a blast. But one thing we got to do on our vacation was that all 4 of us, my wife and I, and our 2 boys, bought, as you do, is get souvenirs. And my youngest was very much on brand with this Spider-Man theme. Very, very excited to show it off to all his friends and all the people there. My oldest, he dabbled in on a lot of the Mickey ears, but he's into Toy Story, so he got the alien Mickey ears, which was a lot of fun and really cool. But one other theme that I noticed at the parks was that jerseys were a big theme there. So like, depending on the franchise, there was like a Bell jersey, like a football jersey, or like a baseball jersey, things of that nature. That's kind of like the new theme now. And one of my favorite movies is Big Hero 6, so I had to show it off. I got myself
this guy.
That's awesome.
So I might have to wear it during our next get together or Set Champ season over the DuckTale Dad shirt. But I'm pretty jazzed.
I think you have to,
I got
actually.
a Baymax jersey. It's kind of like one of my favorite characters of all time and favorite movies. So I'm very jazzed about it. And that was the one thing I was looking for, and I found it in the last hour of the last day at the parks. So I'm very, very excited.
Always.
And I had to show you guys. For those of you not on video, you should check out the video because I flashed the jersey. But yeah, I'm definitely going to show it off to you guys in person next time. But I had a lot going on. What's new in my world? Nothing Lorcana, to be honest. It was vacation and birthdays. I am not able to play Set Champs, but I was able to hear a lot of you guys and how your experiences went. But I'll save that for you while we get into the Set Champs talk, and I want to hear all about your weekends, and as well as our audience does as well. So, but I'm going to pass it over to Scrooge. Uncle Scrooge, what is new in your world, sir?
Yes, as always, thank you for having me here. And what's new in my world is kind of, ironic, but my wonderful wife had her birthday today. And so Mac's youngest has the same birthday. It's very, very fun, especially when we're like about to walk out the door to go pick up the kids from daycare. We get a little voice memo saying happy birthday buddy, and it was just the cutest little thing. And so we had some celebrations this weekend. Her brother is big into smoking meats, so we were able to have some brisket and mac and cheese and just eat way too much food and chocolate cake, and it's fantastic. So we had a great time celebrating, and it's just been and trying to stay cool during this heat, but otherwise doing pretty good. Everyone's healthy for the most part, knock on wood, fingers crossed. But otherwise for Lorcana, it's just really watching all the reveals, thinking about all the different synergies and different decks that I want to build. And then of course it's like, oh, maybe I'll try something new. And it's like, oh, just kidding, maybe blue-green is just where I'm going to be. And so I'm thinking about all the options and opportunities. But yeah, that's where I get right now. Go ahead and toss it over to Christian here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's see. What's new in our world? Well, we've done a lot of Lorcana. That's been probably like our biggest new in our world in the past like month. With the start of Set Champs, obviously we've been doing several set champs, and I'm sure you guys talked about it previously on other casts here. The Woodies are going for a stupid amount of money. So it's been a really great blessing for us to actually like go to set champs and potentially like turn these into like a profit for like household expenses and whatnot. They've been really cool, but also we've traveled to, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, we traveled to both DLC Indianapolis one weekend during set champs, and the week before that we went to Wisconsin for the World Class Cards CCQ weekend. Double 5K weekend as well. So every weekend has pretty much been Lorcana tournaments for the past several weeks, and it's been a lot of fun there. That's a lot on our Lorcana side. Do we have anything to talk otherwise, Hannah? You've been canning a lot of peaches.
I've been canning a lot of everything.
It's been a lot of canning as well.
I went to like a discount store in our town, and they were selling 18 pounds of grapes for $10, and of course I was like, well, I'm gonna buy two. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I've been canning that, making it into juice and canning it, and now we have peaches, which is like 60 pounds of peaches that I'm supposed to can.
Yeah. Well, it started with 40 pounds because we had there's like a Georgia peach truck that goes through Minnesota, and every year I try to find them. I hunt down this Georgia peach truck every year. Yeah. Because it's really what I kind of live for the next year is just Georgia peach truck. And I found it in North Branch. I'm like, all right, now's my time. I get there, I'm going to get 2 boxes of 20 pounds of peaches, and I end up with 3. And that's always usually how it goes, right? So now we've been produce heavy in our house as well for a while.
That's awesome. That sounds like my garden experience. Last year, I planted 4 potato plants, and I thought go big or go home, and I planted 20 this year. So I will...
As it should be.
Yeah, I think I harvested with my boys last year like 60 potatoes, and if you do the math, I'm gonna have like a couple hundred potatoes in my house, which is
a lot of potatoes.
I don't know, it's a fun way to save money.
For 4 plants, you got 60 potatoes?
Yeah. What was that?
Brother, those things are rabbits. From 4 plants, you got 60 potatoes? Is that how that works? That's wild. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of potatoes too.
Why is world hunger a problem? Just plant potatoes everywhere. That's all I'm hearing.
One of my youngest's birthday presents recently, he got a little gardening tool set because he wanted it to play with me in the garden. So it'll be fun, just both of us playing in the garden. But yeah, I'm very much on brand with just overstocking on the produce. That's been my cup of tea over the course of the last 2 years for sure.
It's a good thing. It's a very good thing to have.
Splendidly living in places like Ireland or potato-heavy areas, but
until the famine showed up.
Exactly. Then he would have been pretty hosed. So I'll go last then from a personal side. I threw a surprise party for my wife last week because it was also her birthday. Apparently, it is birthday season here. That was super fun. On top of the fact that I got to use my Father's Day gift this weekend, which was that smoker we talked about last week that I was very excited to start using. I was able to smoke some 6 pounds of ribs, and man, it took a long time, but they were amazing. And I just felt so great when they were finally ready to eat by dinner time. So yeah, that was like a full day long process starting the night before with marinating and all that fun stuff. So while y'all are eating a bunch of produce, I'm just crushing meats in my house apparently. So that was super fun.
I appreciate so much that I don't want to call you out, Nathaniel, but the fact that you led with, I got my new smoker, I made some ribs, it took a long time, this is my first time smoking I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it reads to me.
It certainly was. And I went in thinking, right, it's going to take a while. I know that's the low and slow, right? But, when I actually looked it up the night before of what does this actually take? And it was 3 hours like this, and then 2 hours wrapped up, and then an hour again. It was man, this is I need to be really prepared. It's not just oh, hey, we want to eat in a couple hours. It's no, we need to eat in 7 hours. So yeah. That was new for me. So you got to actually be prepared. You can't just be throwing stuff onto the smoker and calling it good. Be prepared. But I'm good timing on that.
There it is. If you've never played a red blue mirror, you're not ready to smoke. You smoke meats. That's what I'm hearing.
Exactly. But anyways, from a Lorcana perspective, I have not been at any set champs myself. Kind of sad about it, but a lot of family things happening lately. So I'm really hoping to go this final weekend with Christian, hopefully you, at a set champs. That will be kind of put on or facilitated by one of our favorite Lorcana players, Ernie, at his local store. I really hope to make it to that this upcoming weekend after the 4th.
That'd be great, because you know who will also be there if you're there? Well, me and Hannah will be there. But also, one of the rock stars of the Minnesota Community Set Champ season, one Edison Young, also plans to be there. And I'm not sure if you've seen the picture, Nathaniel, but my boy was balling this weekend. I'm not sure if you saw the picture, but he won a Woody Set Champ card with us at Gamers Row Set Champ. It was great. There was 18 people. My boy ends up 4th seed going into Top Cut, which was super sweet. And he takes the Woody that he won. He sells it immediately, and uses that and another enchanted that he sold to turn around and buy a Switch 2 with cash. So he's having a good time. Let me tell you, it was the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Like as a dad, he makes me proud every day, right? But like it was so cool to watch him be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. He's been wanting a Switch 2 for like over a year, and the fact that he's like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sell some of these enchanteds I have because I don't need them. And he's like, I don't have enough. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go to a set champ and try to win a Woody. And he just does it immediately and flips it the next day for like $250 to finish up his Switch 2 fund. It was absolutely crazy.
That is the most baller thing I've heard from a kid coming out of a Lorcana tournament in quite some time. Good on him. Congrats.
Have you
to
seen
him.
the
That's
picture?
Amazing.
The picture with the cash is hilarious. He's just.
Have you not seen it, Nathaniel?
No.
It's a
Oh,
full
I'm going to
cash.
find it and I'm
So
going to
great.
DM it to you.
Oh, it's so great.
It's pretty sweet. I won't lie, it goes pretty hard because these are all like eBay sales that we made, and so I took out the cash because this was Edison's biggest purchase ever in his whole life, and I'm like, all right, we gotta be clear. Are you ready to spend this much money? I want him to feel the cash leaving his fingers, and let me tell you, there was no trepidation in this boy's heart. He knew what he wanted right then and there.
That's awesome.
I sent the picture to you in Discord, Nathaniel, the picture of him and his cash.
I just saw it come over. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, this kid's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's gonna be successful in life for sure.
Working in
He will
finance,
be.
I have to applaud you, Christian. It's just like to have that lesson so early, saying like you feel the cash leaving. Everything is so electronic nowadays, and I'm not gonna
It
get
is.
on my soapbox here, but it's nice to see. It's refreshing to see someone trying to teach the younger generation like this used to be physical, digital currency
Yeah.
is the future, all that stuff. But
Exactly.
very cool. Very cool.
Actually, it's super cool that you shared that, Christian, because my oldest actually just purchased something with some of his own cash himself recently, which was a Nintendo Switch game, which was Mario Party, with some of his own money. And so he had the same experience of like seeing this money leave. He got the game. We unlocked Donkey Kong this weekend. It was awesome. Like he's been utilizing that money spent on a game that he really enjoys well. But yeah, I think it's a great lesson for kids to kind of have that experience. And Nintendo does seem to know what they're doing. So props to them on creating some awesome games.
They
Now,
do,
that
man.
being
It's wild.
And now that being said, right? Speaking of awesome games, this is an awesome game that we love playing, and there is an incredibly huge event that celebrates just how incredible this game is. Mac, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
I would love you, kind sir. Nathaniel is, of course, referring to the Minnesota 3rd year anniversary events. Just want to continue to just pound that into our listeners' ears. That's happening on August 22nd and 23rd, this upcoming August here at the Game Center in Roseville, Minnesota. Friendly reminder, it's going to happen every week, so you might as well get used to it. Again, that's August 22nd and 23rd at the Game Center in Roseville, Minnesota. AJ, he will feed us details as those become live. We don't have additional details right now to share, but as those become available, we will be sharing them here. And I'm sure we'll invite him again before the event starts, just so he can hype up the event even more, because last year he was on, and that was a really fun episode to have him just kind of, because he's a really important member of our community. He organizes a lot of things here locally for Minnesota, and I think it's very important to bring up and recognize the people that truly do a lot and make an impact, and he's definitely one of them here locally. So, again, Game Center anniversary, 3rd year anniversary event, August 22nd, 23rd, Game Center in Roseville, Minnesota. But we do have another announcement. And Nathaniel, do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
I think I'd love to do this one, Mac.
Okay, please do.
So, as many of you know, the DuckTale Dads have been a podcast trio now for coming up on a year and a half, right? So we've been doing this for a while, and we always reference the fact that our friend Konnor, aka Uncle Scrooge, is the one who got us all into this game. So fitting nickname, as he was the origin for so many of these ties that bind us in the Lorcana world for our friend group. Now, I think a year and a half ago, Konnor had some extremely young twins. They are now still young, but not quite as young, and we have kind of been laying in wait, hoping that one day Uncle Scrooge would become official. As of now, we do officially have an additional DuckTale Dad. Konnor, you are officially a DuckTale Dad. Let's go!
Yes. Thank you. I am very excited. It was tough, really. When, again, for those who don't know, I have 2.5-year-old twins. They are incredible. I love them very much, and they are, very tough sometimes. And so the first year or two, I was thinking, like, man, this podcast would be so much fun, but I just don't know if I could be the podcaster that I would want to be to the group. And I didn't want to let anyone down, and so I took a step back and said, you know what, I'll pitch ideas, I'll be a guest, I'll do everything I can. And now that things are getting a little bit better, slightly, still challenging. Anyone out there with toddlers knows this never ends, but just a little bit better. I decided, I got the invite from the gentleman, and I was thinking, like, well, yes, absolutely, I'm in, I'm on it. I talked to the missus, and she said that reluctantly, she said, yes, I think it'd be great. You could talk about Lorcana more, and so it was very, very exciting news, and I'm very happy to be part of the team.
Yeah, it's just organized now, Konnor. That's what I try and tell my wife. It's just one night every week that it's organized rather than just randomly spitballing. But yeah, I think to feed off of this and what Nathaniel announced is this has truly been something that me, Ryan, and Nathaniel have we wanted it to be the four of us from the beginning. And Konnor, knowing that obviously he was in a very crazy time with his twins at the time, we very much respected that, but it was always in the back of our heads that one day it was going to happen for sure. And I'm glad it's now. So formally, welcome to the team. I just have to say, and maybe the answer is not now, you got to start thinking about your t-shirt color because we're going to need to figure out a fourth one. So keep that in mind as you start thinking along. But I'm so glad you said yes. And we are officially, I think, as it was always meant to be, the four of us. I'm so excited and can't wait for it to move forward as the four of us. So jazzed.
Very much appreciative of the invite. And again, similar story from the past where things were getting a little bit more interesting with Lorcana. We started going to more tournaments and league play and started doing well. To quote my wife, my lovely wife, she asked me one day when she found out that all of us got top 8 at a set champs for the first time, she goes, "Are you guys good?" Question mark. And it's just very fun to be like, yeah, you know what? We are good. And so it's just grown from there. We've practiced, we get better, and it's just, it's a great group of guys, and I'm very excited to continue.
I remember that night specifically, Konnor, because I believe it was on the heels of you and I going to a weekly where there were I think 12 people, and you and I had finished as the 3-0s that night. And so when you told her about how the tiebreaker was the opponent match win percentage or blah blah blah, they gave me the pin as the higher 3-0, and you were like, oh, that's so lame, because you did everything you could, right? And
right.
You were telling your wife about it, and she was like, wait, are you guys good now? I
Yes.
thought that was so hilarious.
That's good.
Because it can be humbling, right, to remember kind of your origin story. And I love not at your guys' expense per se, but when you guys share how you and Mac went to this first set camps not really knowing what to expect, what stuff's good, and just getting absolutely waxed by a bunch of people and being like, okay, we got a lot to learn, right? And that was 2 years ago now. So it was quite a while ago. So you've had plenty of time to learn, and we've seen you thrive and do fun things and frustrating things maybe if your name's Mac and you're playing against Konnor. But some amazing things with your deck building qualities. So we're super jazzed to have you. It like Max said, always meant to be you here with us, Uncle Scrooge. So that said, speaking of those set champs, I think maybe we spend just a little bit of time on what you guys have been seeing there, because it is relevant here for another week or so, and just maybe talk about like how maybe this set feels a little bit different. Hannah and Christian, you guys are probably some of the best resources for this because you have been to so many. Maybe some of the trends that you've been seeing the last couple weeks even, because as I had mentioned a couple weeks ago, right, when I went to that first weekend set champs, there was one dogs player in a 19 player field. I highly doubt that would be the experience if you went to a set champs this weekend or this last weekend, right? So would love to hear about what you guys have been seeing, how it's been going. Obviously the kiddo getting top 4 is absolutely incredible. So huge props again to him, but maybe some other things that you guys have noticed.
Yeah, I would say that there's probably way more dogs now than the first weekend. It seems like there's at least, I don't know, like 4 people playing dogs every set champ now.
Roughly.
It's been very, very common now. And so it's definitely very interesting trying to bring a deck that's good into dogs, because even the decks that are good into dogs can still fail against dogs. So
yeah,
it's very, very interesting just how all that works out. But Christian has had quite a bit of success with Blurple, and specifically the Louisa Madrigal, the Floodborn one. That's been very good. Yeah.
She's been my girl.
The Madrigal set, or just been toying around with that specific card?
Mainly just been... mainly just been that specific card. So I've been, so to kind of preface, so the first, because there was like a weird gap for us where, because we went to the first week at set champ, and then the next 2 weeks we actually didn't go to any because we've been prepping so much for Infinity. So like we've done so much work in Infinity leading up to the CCQ and then Indianapolis, the DLC there. The first weekend I actually played dogs for both the set champs I played the Eleanor build that got very popular like the week or two before, and obviously we know now that Eleanor is an unbelievable card. So busted. The card is unbelievably cracked, and we kind of had this feeling that it might have been early on when we were playing Sealed, and like, dude, this card's kind of crazy in Sealed.
Yeah.
But like it's such a weirdly like static card where it's like a 4-cost unequal in green. Where does this fit? And of course, dogs is great, but besides the point there, yeah. And then after that, I'm actually going to another CCQ next week. So I've been in this weird spot where I've been preparing so much for Infinity, and now like I haven't touched core at all. My first 2 core games were the first set champ of that weekend, and then now afterwards, like, all right, I guess I'm going to this CCQ the last weekend of set 12 before rotation. I need to figure out core, and to me, it feels like there's like 3 like really obvious choices. Blurple, dogs, and I think the new red-blue actions list is a great take. Like a really, really, really good take right now. It's like it's such a great matchup into dogs right now. And I found like the whole format in core, and like we're kind of seeing this now in set champs to kind of bring the conversation back to like set champs, right? Because I'm starting to deviate a little bit. I realize, but. Eleanor, right? Everything's about Eleanor, right? Like, how do we like deal with this card? And I found, and I was talking to, I'm also like kind of like an associate of the Flower Farm. If you've ever heard of the Flower Farm, and the discarder JDRR, the guy that makes the Plurple Steel and the Blurple free guides. I talk to him all the time. I was a part of their ICL team. I'm really close to a lot of the inner circle there, and they were really hyping up Louisa. I'm like, I'm gonna try this out at set champs. Because one of the biggest things, right, with Louisa being able to like move damage constantly, is Eleanor requires you to put damage on something. It is not a may. You have to put a damage on someone if you can with Eleanor, and that really sets up Louisa like really, really, really well. Yeah. Like we and Hannah had practice games where like on 5, like when I was going to like 5 Inc, instead of playing Elsa, I just slam Louisa and just say go, and they can't do anything anymore. Because like the way Louisa works is too, because it only has 4 health, right? And so usually everyone's like, oh, I'll move 3 damage over, pay 3, move 3, and then I move 3 to someone else. But the wording on the text is 3 or more damage. So you can actually have 3 damage. Like if I have Louisa swing into an Eleanor and have 3 damage. And then I have and I pay the ink to move a 4th damage to Louisa. She doesn't die. I immediately move the 4 damage to someone else. So she can actually move 4 damage, which is so relevant in a lot of these dogs matchups where they're required to put damage on places. It's been absolutely insane. In the set champs, I did win a set champs with the Louisa Blurple this last weekend, the one where Edison was there. I actually didn't play a single dogs. There was no dogs in the room either, which is hilarious. But it was just so good everywhere else. It was. I think this card is crazy slept on. I didn't run any of the 2/1 support characters. I ran no Basil, no Fauna. I believe her name is Flora. I'm just not gonna play these. I played 4 of the 1-drop Louisa, the 0/3 with Challenger 2, and it was as good as any other 1-drop was, in my opinion. So I've been really hyping up Louisa, and I think I'm probably going to take it to the CCQ next week.
Yeah.
I feel actually really confident on the Louisa. I think it's the correct choice.
Yeah, I felt pretty good with my Sapphire Steel list that I was running. And then I played Christian and Swiss, and we had played the day before, and I did not do very well.
You were running dogs the day before.
I was playing dogs, yes. So I thought, well, maybe Sapphire Steel is a little bit better into this deck. And turns out it's not. I actually got demolished in both Swiss, and then later in top 8, I got demolished again.
Yeah.
And it's just like I couldn't do anything with this 6/4 card. It was so annoying. And like other cards too made it really bad for me.
Yeah. But there was like a crazy turn where like I had Louisa on the field and you went like giant Tinkerbell, and then like I was about to put damage on and you're like, no, I take that back. Like I can't do that.
No, that'd be awful.
Yeah, it'd be like it'd be Jones at that point.
My other card was probably worse, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I thought it was really interesting, like the set champ that we went to at Gamers Row, where I would say like typically is like pretty like aggressively slanted in like a meta game, because this is like the closest game store that we live at. Everywhere's like an hour plus for us to go to, but this is only 20 minutes, so we love going here. But I found there was like a lot of anti-aggro decks in the room. There was like a lot of Ruby Amethyst. There was a lot of Ruby Amber toys. Like there was a lot of Ruby in the room, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, it was interesting. But this last set champ yesterday, where some members of Team Arcana, Ernie and Vo, went to, the whole room was dogs. It sounded like well over half the room was dogs.
Yeah.
So that's tale of 2 set champs right there, right? It all depends on where you go and who's playing, man.
It's crazy to think that half of a field would be dogs now, because like we had kind of talked about generally feeling as if Minnesota was not as into it maybe as other areas or other metas out there. Maybe it was like that's the big bad now of this particular set, which we're about to rotate out of, right? And I think Emerald Amber's still gonna be good. It just might not be quite as crazy as dogs has kind of really taken off the last few months. Really cool to hear about the Louisa card, because I remember getting that card during pre-release and Ryan being like, ooh, that's amazing. Like, and that was into more of a, a sealed format, right? And it hasn't been used much. So it's cool to hear that she has some pretty amazing synergy. Also, side note, sorry I just had to step away for a second. My son just lost his first tooth. So I had to be there and try to congratulate him on that, because holy cow.
Of course.
That just happened live on the podcast.
Wow.
So yeah, there you go.
Good for him.
A lot of firsts.
Milestones.
I want to know
Everyone loves a
about
good milestone.
this actions deck. Why is it tier 1, Christian?
So I actually think so. I have a lot of opinions on this deck and kind of the format, because I think the format as a whole is like weirdly undercooked because of like the influx of like people practicing for the Infinity events and DLCs we're in. But like there were still more core games being played overall by like 3 times the amount of Infinity games. But it's like the players that I think, because I think there's like you can kind of like look and see like the players that like really like adapt to the meta game and like can kind of like force changes, like they are like the top of the creme de la creme of players, right? And they aren't focusing on the core format, right? And so I think this red blue actions deck was super slept on. But basically what it is, it's a really interesting, like like the red blue items lists of old where like they had so few characters but mainly just items and their whole engine revolved around that. It's very similar, but it's all actions. And the whole idea is that you pretty much are like playing 4 Maui Shark, 4 of the Lilo causing a ruckus, the set 8 cards where if you play 3 actions in a turn you can play for free and ready a guy. And like Some aren't even playing Tipo. Some like I've seen as few as like 12 characters. Some play Robin Hood, some don't. It's very few, and all of the deck is full of like action cantrips, like Inner Strength, the new one from set 12, or Develop Your Brain, or Visions and Sail, and then Grab Your Bow. And Olaf. That's the other big card is Olaf, the red snowman, which was an insane card in Infinity. And I think people took that card that saw so much great success in Infinity and put it into Core, and sure enough, it was very good into Core. Its big thing is it destroys dogs.
Yeah.
It is not fair against dogs whatsoever. Like being able to, it's very easy for you to play a Lilo out on like turn 3, and then she can immediately sing Grab Your Bow. You play Olaf's really quickly. The deck is just really good. You still get Pirate's Life and Maui Shark, and like, you know, I think this deck has like, it's got like this weird spot in the metagame where I think I would call it tier 1, maybe tier 1.5, but I think because the format is so heavily revolved around dogs now, and I can say this with confidence because there was a CCQ this other day, and the top 8, 5 of them were dogs, and then the top 4 were dogs.
Yeah.
So like, it is a dog metagame to like the core, even more so now than ever. You know, and so like this type of deck, because the format is so slanted to be so good into it, I think it's a tier 1 deck.
Yeah.
We kind of saw a lot of this actually when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Like a deck that like maybe doesn't have like what we would call like the base power level to meet the other 2 decks, but it's so good into one of them, even if like the power level isn't quite like like Dogs is a better deck than Red Blue Actions in my opinion, as like if we're looking at like a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
But the Red Blue Actions deck is so good into dogs, it's a tier 1 deck. And we saw success all weekend with this deck. It won, I think, 1 or 2 CCQs in Europe already, just in the weekends.
Yeah, I know you sent me what is the word? The Twitch stream of the Red Blue Actions player playing against Dogs player, and in the first game, it just like completely wiped the Dogs deck.
It was crazy because the Red Blue player had 3 Lilos and 2 Olafs, and the Dogs player had 2 Eleanors and 0 Lord, and that was it. Like, man, you can't win. Like, that's it.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think that's like been the coolest and most interesting development of like the undercooked set 12 core format is this Red Blue Actions deck. I think it's awesome. I think it's very cool.
That might be the nature of like the fact that this set has been so short. Typically we see this long evolution over 3 months, and now we're finally seeing that, but unfortunately we have 1 week left, you know? But Robin Hood, I like the Robin Hood part of it because I had been testing it too over the course of the last month. I just think Robin Hood is that kind of the highest ceiling but the lowest floor type of card, and if it hits, it can do so much. And that's, I think, as I've alluded to over the course of this set specifically in a lot of our episodes, I've become the thematic guy, I think, and just trying different themes and just wacky stuff. And Robin Hood is the perfect, I think, example of that different type of play style that is fun, high risk, high reward. And you get a lot out of it when it works, but yeah, you can get smashed. But either way, your games are kind of fast and explosive, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm glad to see that deck is truly, it's kind of the bodyguard against dogs, because dogs is just continuing to run rampant over this meta for sure. Yeah. I am, for one, so excited for, 3 weeks from now when rotation is upon us, because I'm ready for something different.
But the deck's gone again. Red Blue's gone again, Mac. It took 4 sets for you to have a Red Blue deck that is good again, and it's gone immediately.
I think it's we not were more talking so like the Red Blue is gone. It's like I'm glad that Dogs is gone, and maybe we're going to see a different version of it with the toys, but like at least it's something different, and at least it's more thematic. And that's, I guess, during pre-release here and all the reveal season, we've been seeing a lot of, I think, more themed decks at first glance. Definitely. Which I'm very excited to see. But yeah, it's set 12 though. I want to ask one more question here, and then Konnor and Nathaniel, feel free to jump in after this. Set 12, we've talked about like our friend group, like although Dogs is the deck, right? But let's like eliminate Dogs for a second. Like, there's a lot of variety, we feel like, at least at a set champs level. Sure, at a CCQ or DLC, all the good players are going to play the best decks. But, like, I feel like we've seen a lot of variety, and maybe that's because it's Pixar and everyone wants to try the new Pixar cards. But do you see that, if we're stepping away from dogs for a second, do you feel the variety, or do you feel like, no, I think we need to get to rotation first?
Do you mind if I answer this one?
Okay.
I'd say yes to both. I think when you look at like a set champs, like from an objective point of view, set champs really are like a great in between of like casual Arcana to like high level competitive playable Arcana, because you can like I argue you can go to set champs and anything can win, which is like kind of also the fun part about set champs, right? Like, you know, let's take my son for example. Actually, this is a great example. He wanted to play Pixar cards. You know, he loves Toy Story. I love Toy Story. He was like excited about these cards, but his favorite deck ever is Amber Steel Aggro. It's what he played from set 9 onward. He got his Maleficent Dragon card, made top 4 at Issues Needed with Amber Steel Aggro, and he's just always loved, you know, he loves Daisy, he loves, you know, all those Doc, he loves all those nasty cards, right? And he's like, but I want to play with the toy stuff, right? And so we like, you know, collaborated a little bit, like, okay, let's see if we can mix the Amber toy package and Amber Steel Aggro and see how far we can kind of get with this to a playable deck, right? For a set chance, right? Especially when the goal, in my opinion, is to top 8 a set champ, right? That's like always the main goal. Winning is icing, obviously, but the goal is always to top 8. And we came up with what I thought was like a pretty solid list with like, you know, still like a lot of the stuff with like Daisy and Doc and like the Lilo bundled up and the new Mickey card that comes in Exerted, the Expedition Leader, and when you quest, give stuff -2 strength was absolutely ridiculous. And we actually found it comboed really well with like cards like Jesse, where you can shrink stuff when you play cards that cost 2 or less. So like there was turns when like he would like have a Jesse and then like you know, he like had the Mickey also and played like 3 1 costs and then like shrunk just a million things. I'm like, oh okay, nothing can attack at all. That's cool. And so like the Woody, and you know, we didn't play like all the toys, right? But most of the Amber ones, and it was, you know, it was good enough for him to top 8 a set champ, right? And that's not a deck that, you know, Amber Steel toys, it kind of is, but like not the aggressive build, right? Not with like, you know, this didn't have like Thunderbolt and Troubadour and Akudat Moody. It didn't have any of those type of cards, right? So I think that's like a really good example of like how I think if you come with like a decently cooked deck, I think you can really have a lot of success at these set championships, right? And I think I've seen a lot of that success. Like, you know, I mentioned before the set champ, we saw a lot of Ruby decks. Like I've known people that have won set champs to set with Ruby Amethyst, you know, with like interesting builds, or Ruby Amber toys to top 8. You know, people brought dogs, or Sapphire Steel. I saw like a cool Sapphire Steel like core Kiwi build. And I'm like, that's really cool. I like that, you know, with like the Alice and the Horseman and like having this whole you know, aggressive package that you really don't see in core at all. So I definitely think like, I'm not sure if it's really a matter of like set 12 itself is like creating this breadth of creativity or like diversity in format, but I think it's more so just the way set champs have always been kind of formatted, which I think is a good thing, right? Like, I like to play at the highest competitive level, but I think if every weekend was a DLC, I think I would get burnt out really quickly, right? And so I get a lot of joy at knowing that like I have a lot of choice in what I can play every weekend. But we are definitely desperate for rotation as well. Like, listen, no one wants to see Tramp anymore. No one wants to be Elsa on turn 4 anymore. No one wants these things. You know, I'm sick, and no one wants to have a Doc like get ripped off the top when their opponent's no cards in hand. It's like, oh well, you know, that's kind of always, you know. Not to ramble too much, but I think it's a mixture of both. I think we really need the rotation, but you know, it's been fun. As to me, all set champs have always been fun. Yeah. What do you think about that, Hannah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd echo the point, Christian, about just like rotation seemingly coming at a good time. It feels like, right? Like,
yeah.
When we talked with JDZ, he'd kind of mentioned the fabled rotation, maybe not being executed the best way, right? Where we were in that kind of awkward phase there where decks just like were not that good. And, you know, as Mac would attest, right? Ruby Sapphire was just completely gone. Ruby just sort of took a break for like a year almost. You know,
yeah,
it was tough, right? And I think it does feel like this one, we're ready for it. And also, there's still going to be viable things in a post-rotation world where it doesn't feel like, I think, Christian, you actually said this yourself, I think, where you build a deck with like 45 to 50 like pretty good cards. Some of them were like insane cards, like a Dumbo, and then there were like a dozen or so or 10 cards that were not really that good, but you just had to fill out the last spots, and because of the card pool just being so watered down in that fabled meta. So this does feel like there will still be some pretty strong things, and they're revealing some pretty strong cards that they're releasing with Vine. And I just think that's good for us kind of to get the breath of fresh air, but still be able to like play good stuff if you want to do that and have options of multiple different deck combinations that will work post rotation seemingly. I don't know. I'm not a deck builder. You got to talk to Konnor about that stuff.
If you don't mind me saying a bit more on like the topic of like post rotation, I think like something that's so interesting to me, like if you were to ask me at the beginning of the Fable format what I thought of it, I would have said I've loved it so much. And at the end, if you asked me, I would have said it was the worst format ever in existence. And I believe that was because like we were all excited for like a bunch of broken stuff to be gone. Be Prepared, Maui, Diablo, Ariel, all these cards like gone. And I think like I actually think we were so excited for those to be gone that we didn't really fully realize the impact of set 5 through 8 cards, especially set 5 and 6 cards, really in the grand scheme of things. Like when we look at like these cards in set 5 and 5 and 6 especially that were printed, Tipo Sail, Elsa Genie, the dogs cards, like we really didn't appreciate, especially like going into like sets 10 and 11 and 12, like we didn't appreciate how much better, especially like let me phrase that differently. I appreciate where the game is so much more now with the cards that are coming in. I've said this a few times to people locally recently. I think Ravensburger is really hitting a really nice rhythm on card design in designing sets in a lot of different ways. I think people kind of talk about like power creep and stuff like that, but I think the power level of set like 10 through 12 is so good. Like I just think there's a lot of just solid cards. Like, I don't think there's really a lot of, like, Sail the Azurite Sea type of cards. You could argue Kudet Moody is one of them, but,
perhaps Eleanor.
Or Eleanor, or, like, Grandmother Willow. But you know what these all are, though? They're all uninkable.
They are.
And, like, all these other cards that I mentioned before, they're almost all inkable. Like Elsa and Sail and Tipo.
Sail, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, we just, like, don't really realize, like, how warping all these cards were back in the day. So, like, we had, like, a bunch of cards gone at Fable, but we still had arguably some of the most format warping and deck building warping cards still in the format. Like, Sail never came out of decks. Sail defined a whole archetype, like a whole color archetype, right? Elsa defined a whole color archetype, in my opinion, right? Like, I just don't think like Amethyst would be where it is today without Elsa Fitzspirit, because it just works with everything else. It is the glue of the colors, right? Dumbo was so good because you were already running these evasives anyway that you wanted to exert with Dumbo's effect, right? And so I think going into this rotation, what I'm really excited about is like we're finally leaving what I think is a lot of the infant and toddler, like I would argue the toddler stage of Ravensburger card design. Some of it is just like kind of like done with a little bit of reckless abandon. They're pushing boundaries in like ways that toddlers do, right? Like I want to stick the finger in the electrical socket, and they made Sail the Azurite Sea, right? Like now we're starting to get to like they're pushing the envelope in like more cleaner ways with set 13, set 12, and set 11, right? Like I think again, I think a lot of these Amber cards are broken. I think Willow is broken. I think Akut is broken, but I think they're also they're broken in the context of how good they were with the set 5 and 6 cards. Willow is still a broken card, but man, it was broken with dogs, right? Like I think we're just gonna see so much such a better meta, such a better form of deck building. I think there's more draw than there was at the beginning of set 9. There's not to go all in on this, but
if dogs was not a deck, we would be able to build such better decks. But I also think that with all this, I feel like without Amethyst cards, without Elsa Fitzspirit, we would be able to build such better cards and Sail and all these. So I'm excited for them to be gone, even though I love both of those colors so much.
Absolutely.
But they're the best.
They're the best, yeah. That's why they were good for the whole format. The decks didn't change that much, right?
No.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, it does seem as though you were kind of limited to Amethyst if you really wanted consistent card draw. Either, it's like, Clairville, and amethyst. And so it's nice and refreshing, as you mentioned, to see a little bit more depth in the availability for card draw. And so kind of leaning into the point you made with like the Akud and Willow being the new Sail, Genie, Elsa combinations. Are there any other cards you think that will be the next Sail or Tifo from whether it's 9, 10, 11, any set from there that you think might be
I have
next
an
big
idea.
thing that is underappreciated currently?
Do you want to answer this first, Hannah? Because I got a couple in my mind already.
No.
I got a
I
couple.
love it.
I mean,
love it.
I
Get your
was
notebook
just
out.
thinking. I think that the Sapphire Emerald Minnie and Mickey, or Mickey and Minnie, is going to be a really meta-defying card. I think it's going to be so good, and I'm very excited to see how it works and how it's put together. But everything I've heard about it just seems like it's really, really good.
That's a card that is as good as it reads,
Yeah.
right? I've seen some people practicing some set 13, and from what I've experienced, the card seems actually very real, which is great.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a really cool card.
That's just from Attack of the Vine.
Yeah, that's what set 13, which is which is part of the conversation.
So like 9 through 12, and
I think
what do you got?
I think Scrooge, the Ruby Scrooge, is going to be a huge card.
Yeah.
Not only because like for two reasons. I think that card is what I expect like the format to be, where it's like we're actually playing a lot more like kind of before at the start of set 9, we played a lot of sealed-esque games where like there's a lot of like back and forth kind of because there's not a lot of card draw, but like when someone gets like one piece of card draw, they kind of just like blow out the game, a little bit. I think it's gonna be like that, but like not as exasperated on the far ends of the spectrum. I think Scrooge is just gonna be an animal in that format, especially paired with Webby's Diary. We have already seen like Ruby Amber boost control as like a very playable archetype in like these previous metagames. But it always like fell like a tiny bit short of like some of the better decks that existed, right? Like Purple Steel, all these things. It could never be Purple Steel. I don't think that deck ever could be Purple Steel personally. However, I think this. My prediction is that this is going to be the next big premier control deck because I think Webby's Diary is such a powerful draw tool for control decks. And it's like a unique draw card too. Like it's very similar to like a Maurice's Workshop type of effect, where like you play an item and pay and you can draw this, but it's like cool because you have to like play characters to do the boost for the most part, right? So you actually like you play the board and you're boosting anyway because you want to be boosting, and you're still drawing like as many cards as you kind of need to. So I suspect Scrooge paired with either Webby's Diary or like some of the Amethyst bounce cards like Olaf, for example, is going to be a really solid card for that. I think Dumbo also has a pretty good chance of being a similar kind of like card like what you mentioned, like a Willow, a Cood, or like a format kind of staple, right? It's because that's kind of what we're looking at, like format staples. But I think Dumbo loses a lot of stock because like all the evasives you want to be playing are gone. So there's a deck building cost to Dumbo that there just wasn't before, right? So that's actually going to make like deck building really interesting.
I love it.
Do you think it's because like the evasives are just not good anymore? Because like there's plenty of evasives, but not on the Elsa Genie level, or maybe I'm
could
just
you
not
let
thinking
me ask you this, right? Can you name me 3 evasives that actively saw play in like any deck? Amethyst especially, right? But like actively saw play in like kind of the like most recent format that was from like set 10 through 12. Can you name like 3 of them?
I would
only
say
because I have trouble kind of naming them.
Yeah, not meta defining.
Not many.
But if you were playing like the thematic, I saw it in the Supers deck. The Ruby Amethyst Supers deck had a couple, but that's that's not like tier 1 or whatever, right? But I think to your point, there aren't like besides Genie and Elsa, like I don't think there's much, right?
Or Iago? Remember Iago? That guy's gone too. He's out of here. He's one of the best. Dude, Dumbo with Iago felt unbelievable. He's
There's
gone.
The new Peter Pan. Is it Peter Pan? Tinkerbell combination that just makes everything evasive. That'll be an interesting combination with Dumbo.
That could be very interesting.
Yeah, you have Dumbo on board, a couple characters. You just toss in Peter Pan.
Just make everything evasive.
It's like just do draw.
That seems awesome.
It seems sweet, right? Yeah. I agree. Like that's probably was like a really strong use case, right? When you can have a card that turns everything into Dumbo targets, or like a Jebediah Farnsworth. That's like the one that comes to mind the most.
That's what I
It's
was
like he's like fine. He's like Yeah, he's good for the most part, but it's like it feels very much like a Ruby Amethyst archetype, right? So
Very much so. As you mentioned, though, the Ravensburger pushing boundaries. I think these duos or iconic duos
yeah,
kind of coming in. It's incredible. I love it. The Woody and Buzz shift and
yeah,
Mickey and Minnie shift and having it be a temporary shift or a one shift. I've already ranted on this on another episode, but I think it's very
yeah.
fun that they are expanding that because it just opens up so many more opportunities.
It does. It really
is
opens
also,
design space.
yeah, it is also this new like mechanic in general, right? Like we keep getting these like different styles of being able to play, right? Like boost was the big thing for Whispers in the Well. Now we're getting like joint shift things that just make the game feel different and like fresh again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we need.
So that said, speaking of the freshness, that was you guys are fresh off of a very large tournament, being DLC Indy. So you touched on this a little bit, right? The notion that hey, a large chunk of the player base for set 12 was actually distracted from core because they were focusing instead on a much bigger prize, which was DLC Indy. So can you guys talk a little bit about maybe how that prep looked, what you guys ended up running, what you guys saw there, maybe how that compares to some of the prior DLCs from this season, because this was, of course, in the Infinity DLC. So the one North American DLC that was not core constructed, it was actually Infinity. So everything from sets 1 through 12 was legal in this.
Yeah. It was very interesting going into it because it felt like there was not a lot of people practicing Infinity besides the people that were going to the DLC. So you can't just walk up to someone at League and say, hey, can you help me practice my Infinity deck? And they're like, what's Infinity? Or whatever. So it was very interesting in that way. So we ended up trying to get together with like members of our team to try to play in person. And that was probably the best practice that I got, at least.
I agree.
I was unfortunate. I was kind of sad I didn't get to do that more often. Normally it was either me or Christian, and normally it's Christian. So, but you know, like Christian got to do a ton of practice with like Scott Markson and Tyler Gangle and all those people trying to get this ready.
Yeah.
And so when I played online, I played the majority of the time Ruby Sapphire Shark. That's just a really awesome deck, and I liked it a lot. But then Christian came home pretty early on saying, oh, we have this sweet Diablo deck we're working on. And I was like, that sounds incredible, being able to shift Diablo, sing Friends, and then play Helga Sinclair on turn 2 is incredible, right?
Busted.
And so I really wanted to play that, but I did have a little bit of problem that Scott didn't really want to share that with the world, so I couldn't play online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For very good reason.
It's totally fine. So I just continued to play Red Blue Shark and playing that type of deck with Christian at home.
Yeah.
But we were not able to practice that very much. So
No, we had a lot of like the DLC came up really fast, I felt like. Yeah, we really just kind of ran out of time, I felt like.
Yeah. It definitely did. And so I had played some other Emerald Amethyst list, and so I was like, you think this will be fine. I can play it for the DLC. And so I ended up going with Emerald Steel, and I had a terrible record, but I don't think it was my fault more than it was just like my matchups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
I guess there was 3 people kind of within locally that brought this deck. You had a tough run. Tyler Novak also had a tough run.
He did.
But Ernie had a great run with the deck. He started off 6-0
Yeah.
of the day, immediately gets qualified for day 2. And to kind of go into like the biggest problem with the format, he ran into his worst matchup 3 times in a row and just died. You guys just got crumbled. And I mean, that is the honest truth of the Infinity format, where I was kind of afraid of it. And I was having fun at first playing it because I was really dull on core, because core really was like the same decks for a while. But man, I just remembered how much I disliked a lot of cards in Infinity.
Yeah.
So I played Emerald Amethyst, also like very similar build. Scott and that gang kind of landed on like a more control heavy Emerald Amethyst deck with like Chernabog from set 11, the Winter Spell one, and like it calls me to remove cards from the discard and put them back in their deck. It was actually like really strong, and like when the combo worked, it was really powerful. But when it didn't, it just didn't work, and that's honestly the epitome of the Infinity format. Did it work or did it not work? Because the cards are just so swingy, and I think that's like really like the biggest problem with it, because like everyone is like every deck is a 10 in Infinity, in my opinion. Like you're forced to kind of mull to your 10, like your 10 out of 10 hands.
Yeah.
Because if you mull for it, and if you're both mulling for that, and you don't have, even if you have a middling hand, if your opponent has their good hand, player draw, you're dead.
Yeah, it doesn't even really. It doesn't always matter matchup. No. Like it could be a terrible matchup for you, but if you get your best hand, you're probably going to win anyway.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Or if you get your worst matchup, you're still just like maybe just dead in the water, right? And like a lot of big tournaments, if we're looking at it from a core, or like from a true objective standpoint, there is a ton of just matchup luck in big tournaments for people that succeed. But it really emphasized that in Infinity, man. Like, I mean, I look for dogs, and when I hit dogs, I 2-0'd them. I look for red blue. I played Emerald Amethyst Discard. That was the deck I brought to World Class Cards. I had a good run there, and I wanted to run it back. I enjoyed the deck. And I started off 3-0, started off really good, and then I just went 0-3 right off the bat, just to terrible hands, honestly. Like, and I think it was like, there was like a weird point. It was tough, actually, when I was like kind of there at the DLC. Like, I kind of didn't want to be there. I was so down on Infinity format as a whole. Like, I enjoyed the deck that I had, but I just didn't enjoy the format. And I think like you kind of got that air from everywhere. Like the venue was still friendly, and like the event ran really smoothly, but like I don't think anyone was like having the time of their life sitting across from Shift Diablo or a Cinderella Akud Ariel Ethereal Voice, or any of these things. This is like, man, like, I'm starting off great. I win 3 dice rolls. I 2-0. I didn't lose a game. I had opened Shift Diablo, Sing Friends, like majority of the game. And then the next several games, I like miss Shift Diablo, and I'm just dead.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of just the truth of the metagame. I mean, Scott Markison had the same thing. He went 2-3, and he was out right there. He's like, and I was talking to him. He's like, "Yep, I died. That's what the format is. I didn't draw good hands, and I died." I'm like, "Yeah, that's the real truth of it." And I think, like, I think, like as a whole, I enjoyed testing Infinity in the beginning because it was different, but I really disliked it at the end because it's Infinity. Like we only had 4 added sets for an Infinity tournament. Like there wasn't enough time, right? Like the body was still warm. For like post rotation, I felt like playing these Infinity cards, like shoot, man, we didn't even bury these guys yet. We got to dig them back up. I think it was, in my opinion, maybe you can attest to this too. I think the Infinity DLCs were a huge failure, in my opinion. I think the format is good. I think the tournaments this soon was a colossal failure, and you can really see that in Dortmund, where there was supposed to be a cap of 4,000 players, and one day had 500, and the other one had barely 1,000. So I think that's the most to say about it. People don't want to play Infinity right now.
Yeah,
there's no reason to.
So Christian, one follow up on that. Sorry, Mac. Was you made this point about like these kind of god hands, right? Where it's like, okay, you're mulling or you're altering hard to get these crazy opening first 4 or so turns. Can you give like a couple for the listeners, just like what are some examples of things in Infinity that are just, this is so busted, if they see this you'd probably just lose if you don't have an equally insane hand yourself?
So let's start with Diablo's a pretty easy one. On the play, you go turn 1 Diablo, you throw a song, you throw an action, you sing Friends, and you drop either an Ursula Deceiver, trip a song, or you drop a Helga Sinclair, which is a 4 cost 5/4 that you can play for 2 if 2 cards went to the discard, followed up by like a Prince John, or just an assuming engine-based 3-drop that you run a lot of, right? And thing like Sudden Chill, and all of a sudden like, oh, the game's over. Like there's way too many threats for me to deal with anymore. Or or Shark going, or Red Blue Shark going like Popsicle, Sail, How Far I'll Go Shark into like Olaf is so difficult to deal with as a player. or if Dogs goes the core route, which is funny because Dogs in Infinity was, in my opinion, the best deck. And Dogs in core is like a 56 card same list, which I think is also like a problem. The best deck in Infinity is a core deck with 4 Infinity cards in it. And it's not even Rapunzel. Like the top players weren't even playing Rapunzel in Dogs anymore because it like no one was ever getting triggered. They played Kita, so you could Under the Sea.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because it triggered all the Aurora and Queen synergy still. So like if you just go like 1-drop Willow, 1-drop Eleanor, same as core, it's also equally busted in Infinity. Turns out. Turns out you also just auto win games from just doing that half the time. Yeah. So that's like an example of a lot of the main decks that you saw in Infinity in some of the openings. You just have to deal with like every other round. Or Steel Song, if they go like Cinderella, like storm your guy, play Troubadour, a Cood at Moody turn 3 into turn 3 Tragic Hero Beast. Like some decks could never beat that. Never beat that. Or even like Cinderella into the boost Ariel on turn 2, which is like also like a Singer 4, but like huge, for 2-drop, so like, that's kind of like where the format really turned into, was like, who's got the more busted opening? Like I said it before, like, man, games were over by turn 3, but no one really wanted to admit it, but the truth was games were over by turn 3 most of the time.
So I would like to expand on that even more because how do I want to phrase this? Infinity, I think, is a fun format, or at least in theory, it can be really, really, really fun. And it sounds like from a big DLC perspective, that's not the way to go, at least for a main stage event. Is there a way to improve that? Because I don't know, 4 sets ago when it was announced, it seems like this is a type of format that Ravensburger wants to continue to focus on, at least for the immediate future. And I am predicting that this is going to be an event at Worlds. I think Infinity is going to be one of the things that they do at Worlds. Could be totally wrong, but they want to try it out there. How do they improve Infinity then if there was some kind of negativity towards it, especially at the event when you were there experiencing it?
I could see 2 things. First of all, I think that they need to wait a couple of sets to make it like really good and to make people actually want to play the format. And then I could also see bans of cards. I think that bans are very good, and that would help the format immensely because there's just such busted lines that you can do. I think that's the biggest thing. They need more bans.
Yeah. The ban is really necessary. Like core needs rotation, Infinity needs ban lists really badly. The decks look different a little bit because of like, the addition of like certain cards from like Whispers and Winterspell, but the archetypes were the same. It was Diablo decks, it was Dogs, it was Ruby Sapphire, and it was Steel Song, which is the exact same as it was at the end of set 8, but they just had new tools. No archetypes could break through that, and I don't think the cards were really designed to compete with Infinity cards.
No.
And I think that's like, I echo Hannah's point completely. They needed more sets. They needed like 2 more rotations before wanting to do Infinity with a couple ban lists because the format needed to look different, and it just did not look different.
It did not look different at all.
No.
Yeah.
I've been one too. I'm very much a fan, and I'm a traditional sports fan. Like I follow a lot of the local sports teams here, and for those of you who don't know, we have some very aggressive like general managers in our Minnesota sports fans right now that are making big swings, which I appreciate. And I think Ravensburger did the same thing with Infinity. Like they took a big swing with implementing a format like this in Infinity. So I am actually, although the experience now might not be ideal, I'm hopeful that there's an improvement. And I know we alluded to before on previous episodes with the ban list, and I am very much on board with that too. There needs to be a ban list. Are there top couple cards that were just so menacing that just need to be removed immediately moving forward if this is something they want to continue, especially like I'm predicting if this is something they want to do at Worlds, for example, which is not that far away, right?
There's definitely a lot of cards that I could see them banning. I think Grandmother Willow is one of those cards that I want to see banned. I feel like that would be one of my top choices. She just seems so incredible in the Dogs archetype, and without some type of ban list, that deck is going to be the best deck in the format for years.
I kind of agree. I actually fully agree. I actually think, for me, if I were to make a ban list for Infinity, I would ban like 15 cards, I think, personally. Like, I would ban like because we need the archetypes to look different, right? Like, I think if you just ban Willow, obviously it's a dog's enabler, but like,
Yeah.
then like everything else still just like looks the same, right? I think like if I had like the choice of like 5 or 10 cards or whatever that could be banned, no,
You're fine.
I would ban Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, Be Prepared, Sail the Azurite Sea. I'd be banning. I think Eleanor's probably fine without Grandmother Willow. Most games.
It's a little questionable though.
But like, how often? You're trying to like ban the enablers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like what you need to do, right? Like that's why like we would need to ban like the stuff that like ramps really easy. Diablo's got to be gone. Mountain Shark I think is fine, but if it got banned, I don't think it'd be like. I think it would actually help the format still a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I was just thinking, one reason why I think that Be Prepared could be banned is because all of the decks that are good into dogs also die so heavily to Be Prepared. So if Be Prepared didn't exist, dogs would not be as big of a problem.
If people stopped playing red decks, I didn't think dogs would be the best deck, but everyone wants to play red decks. I like playing red decks, so I
love red decks.
I love red decks too, yeah, but I think like, stuff like that I think needs to be banned. And I think people are going to hear that and be like, Christian, that's like the whole Infinity format. It's like, well, then they should probably wait. They should probably wait to make more Infinity events if those busted cards are the whole format. Maybe we should add more cards to the pool, another rotation, and then we get rid of all those nasty cards.
I think really before we, started really getting deep into the Infinity conversation, I think it was Hannah, you mentioned this, that really, in my opinion, summed it up entirely, that people weren't practicing, or like they weren't testing for Infinity. It was like you'd go to League and it's like, who's doing that? Who's doing Infinity? And really, if you weren't going to the DLC, was there any reason to like do anything? Like there's no reason really. There's no side tournaments. There's no Infinity based like League nights or set champs only for like there's no reason. And so I think that, as Mac alluded to, is like nice. I appreciate they're trying new things. They're going for some fun ideas. However, as Christian said, it was a failure. It felt like there was a few things missing. There was just no point if you weren't going to the DLC.
Yeah, I think like the biggest part of the failure was just timing, right? Like I think Infinity. I agree with Mac. I think Infinity format is a good thing to like uphold and support and be a thing for the game, especially if you're going to have like a rotation every year. I think we want Infinity format to exist, but it needs to be like it needs to be handled like in a timely manner, right? Especially like to me, like not to get into like a big like Ravensburger criticism thing, but I think it's really weird that like they like everything that they thought that they should work on, they saw Infinity to be the first thing, when like I think local league events and stuff like that is like a bigger problem that the game needs to be focusing on, and not, hey, we got to make sure people play Infinity. Because I think there was a weird like vocal minority of people that were like, I want to play with my old cards still, but then like once Infinity kind of started happening, people like didn't have to play with their old cards, like, I don't know if I want to play with these anymore, guys. Like, you guys kind of make better cards over time. Like, wait, what if I, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that was like a big problem too. So
here's a quick off the cuff question. I don't want to think about it too much. If there was another style, let's like core Infinity, and the style was franchise only, color limits off the table, only franchise, what would you run at the franchise DLC?
Can I speak to I gotta start this.
Yeah.
I've actually, so in the Flower Farm, JDR has a franchise theme format that we play like in the Discord like for a month long. I played in one of these last set and it was the most fun ever. Zootopia. I played Zootopia. I got the top 4 with a Zootopia deck, and it was awesome.
Interesting.
Yep, I got crushed by Aladdin Purple Steel. Crushed. It was great. And I think that is a real format that needs to be in the game. It was so much fun.
Absolutely agree.
And it was like, and the way that the design of the game is going forward makes it even better. Just a real quick off the cuff of the rules, like you said, you wanted to just be an off the cuff thing. It was Infinity format, 2 color only restriction still. It was called the Franchise and Friends format. So you could only play characters, songs, items, and locations from a specific franchise. You could play any action from any franchise. Those were on the table. And then you could play 4, if because you're still keeping the 2 colors. You could play 4 characters from one color from the Mickey and Friends franchise, and another 4 characters of the other one. So it helped it helped provide like a little support glue for like maybe some
Right.
like colors that needed a little bit more. That like Sapphire is a great example. Like Sapphire, without ramp is like kind of a notoriously like not a great color. So like the franchise and like the Making It Friends format adds Mickey Detective, which is perfect for the format, right? Yeah, you get access to Clarabelle, but only one piece of it. You can't play 4 of the little Clarabelle and 4 of the big Clarabelle because they'd both be Emerald. If you play the Emerald Amber, you could play 4 of the big Clarabelle and then 4 Daisy Duck or something like that. For example, awesome format. I've been praising it so much, and it was some of the best Lorcana I've ever played in my life. I highly recommend it.
Hannah, what would you say?
Yeah. Well, I have not played that format. It also sounds very fun, but I've always said that the deck I would want to play is a Tangled Rapunzel deck. I've always said that I want to. If you have all of the colors, there's so many good Tangled cards, so that's the deck I would do. You'd have Mother Gothel and Rapunzel still, so it's a good time. But if it's Infinity, I guess.
Yeah, Infinity, but still only 2 colors.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well.
All right, so on this note, right, of you two playing in some fun formats, we have to ask the question, did you play 2v2 during DLC Indy?
Of course you played 2v2 at DLC Indy.
Why would we not?
Why would we not?
Experience. We have to hear what you did, how it went, because you two are a bit of, I would say, kind of you get some magic behind you with the 2v2 format in the past.
True.
Yeah.
It's been a good time. Do you want me to start this one off a little bit? Yeah. So there was actually 2 different 2v2 events this time. There was a core one and an Infinity one on 2 different days. So we brought 4 different decks for these stupid 2v2 event. I was so stressed out preparing for this, but so for the core one, which was first, we played our previous one, which was Dogs and Green Purple Brainiac, and that event went okay. We actually got crushed round 1 because it's a best of 1 format against someone that this couple also came prepared.
Yeah.
And their decks were way better than ours.
Well,
I think they were like for the format. I think it was better.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason is because they were playing cards. Well, one of their person was playing Amethyst Steel, and the other person was playing Emerald,
Green Blue. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they basically just had so many cards that would put Pete back into their hand so that they could play it. And
so toxic.
In a format where songs are busted, this is amazing.
Yeah. Dude,
so every
busted.
Turn, they were able to play Pete. We were able to do nothing.
Their Amethyst Steel deck had like 4 magical maneuvers, 4 Olaf. The Green Blue deck had like Mother Knows Best and like Milo Thatch to put Pete back in their own player's hand. It was really busted, and we got cooked pretty hard because our deck really needed actions.
Yes.
Then we got a bye, which was super unfortunate, and then we played a really funny game on our last round, because usually what happens in the 2v2, you each have to get to 20. One person gets to 20 really fast, and the other one takes a little bit longer, and the other two are like, all right, bully that person so he doesn't get to 20. Well, Hannah was playing the Green Purple Brainiac control deck. That deck is slow as sin, right? And I'd be like playing Dogs, and I'd have like 17 characters on board and like 100 lore.
Yeah.
So we had a sweet tech card, because you could sing together with each other's stuff with sing together cards, because it says teammates. We put 2 Fantastical and Madrigals in
my deck.
Yeah. So there was like a point where like I had 16 characters on my board, and you had like 2 lore, and you had like 3, and we found the Fantastical, and like I win, and we just sung with all of our guys, and Hannah just won.
Yeah, and I still gained the lore. I still draw the cards, so I gained 16 lore.
Drew 16 cards.
Drew 16. Yep.
It was
and
awesome.
Just won.
Yeah, so then that was our core experience, and then we played the Infinity one, and we had like it was fun, but deep down we wanted to draft actually by this point. So we actually were 2-0 in this one. I played Emerald Amber Discard.
Yeah.
And Hannah played Steel Song.
Steel Song, yeah.
And let me tell you, busted.
So our original plan for this format is to sing Beyond the Horizon on turn 2. Because you can do that with the Rhino Shift line, and then Christian had
Cinderella or Diablo in my deck.
Cinderella or Diablo. So we were able to, we almost were able to sing that on turn 2.
Yeah, we almost did that. We never got it to fire off, but we did. I did have a crazy bricked hand of 4 Under the Seas in my opener, but it didn't matter because Hannah had a bunch of singers, so I was just like,
I had a good hand.
you had a good hand. I'm like, I'm just gonna sing with her stuff Under the Sea real quick.
Yeah.
And then like that was like our first round. And then the second round, I had 2 Prince Johns on the field, and then played You Have Forgotten Me. and then drew 8 cards. It was. I didn't feel. I won't lie. I didn't feel good doing it. Like there were like people that like just like yeah. I just brought our Infinity decks for the main event, and we were like, oh, it's sick. She had the Headless Horseman shift line.
Yeah.
Which also triggers Prince John because there's 4 players drawing and discarding 3 cards. I mean, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, that was super fun too because I mean, obviously there's now 4 people with actions in their deck, so now you could deal way more damage than you normally would be able to in like a 1v1 game.
Yeah, in one of our practice games, we got to 14 damage, I think, with Headless Horseman shifts with like 4 players. It's just like it's such overkill. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, there was like a really crazy turn too, where like someone like reckless my Diablo. I'm like, shoot.
What are we gonna do?
What am I gonna do? I need this thing to live because you played Ariel and found Beyond the Horizon. I'm like, I know what we're gonna do now.
Yeah.
I was like Phineas and Ferb, like, I don't know what we're gonna do today. We're gonna sing Beyond the Horizon. It was great.
Yeah. Which is so cool that you're able to do that type of stuff because otherwise Christian's Diablo would have just been vanished.
Would have smacked into a gator. He's like Lewis. He's like, oh shoot, I'm gonna lose this thing.
Yeah, but now with me being able to grab the Sing Together song, now he's totally fine and we're doing awesome.
And I drew 1 million cards because I had Johns on the field still.
Yeah.
So it was like busted.
So do you guys like, for those of you not familiar completely with that format, do you play the turn together, but like whatever card you play, that person gets the benefit of that card, so to speak? Or is that right? Or maybe explain
so it's like team A, team B turn. So it's for the most part you don't share resources. Like my inkwell is still my own inkwell, and like, you know, if I have a bodyguard it doesn't protect Hannah's characters, but certain cards say like chosen player or chosen character, right? And they can start to like interact. Like if you've ever played any multiplayer, most of the cards work there. It's really the Sing Together cards that really like kind of like make the format its own and kind of break it up to absolute busted levels of degeneracy. But it's fun. It's very, very fun. I think the format would be better if it wasn't constructed, if it was sealed. If it was to be sealed, I think it'd be game serious, actually. I think it'd be insanely good. Because you can also like, the best part is like too, like if we have hands, we can like show each other our hands, like, I want to do this, you should do this first, and then I'll do this, you know, all on the turn. We can coordinate really strong strategic plays, right? That's the funnest part of the format.
Yeah, being able to talk to each other is really fun.
It's great. It's really, really great. We kind of saw that one team sealed event at the Whisperers event where the 3 of you played. We're on a team. It's the same idea. And I think it's actually wonderful. I think it needs to be incorporated more. I think it should actually be an official format. You know, not relegated to an undercooked side of it.
More formats is what I'm hearing. We have Infinity and
more formats.
Looks like we're looking for franchise,
and
team, and
And so I can't say a whole lot on it, but at the VIP lounge, they were people that had the VIP access. Ryan Miller was testing a brand new format with them that they had to sign an NDA for before they could even play the format. And I wasn't there. Ravensburger, if you're hearing this, it seemed cool. I wasn't a VIP, but I heard on the grapevine, you can't get me. You know, you can't, you don't know where I live. You don't know where I live. Basically it was a commander style format.
Oh man.
It was a singleton commander style format. So you can potentially expect that in Disney Arcana, from what I can hear.
I'm glad they're testing
through the grapevine, right?
I didn't sign no NDA, Ravensburger. I didn't sign no NDA.
Can't get him.
Yeah.
So
can't get
I guess my final like DLC related question before I let Nathaniel and Konnor ask theirs is, this Indy was kind of the culmination of season 2. So season 2, kind of your quick final thoughts on, I think generally speaking, season 2 was a little bit of a letdown compared to season 1, just I think due to the number of events, maybe because Infinity was a main stage, but I think everyone was super excited to just have DLCs again, right? And overall, I think they're trending in the right direction with the framework that they've built with season 2. So last thoughts on season 2 and how you and what you want to see, your initial hopes and dreams for season 3 as we eventually get there, because I think it feels like it's just around the corner going into Continental's worlds, and then we're like there. I feel like around the first of the year is when I'm expecting something, it's probably when World is going to happen. This isn't breaking news, people, but I'm just saying that's my prediction.
Yep. I would say I think season 2 felt very much like a 2-step backward, 2-step forward by the end of it type of feeling to me. And I think a lot of that stemmed also like it kind of was like season 1 all over again because they had a new company doing the organization of the events, right? It's pastime. Before it was PPG. That means it's a whole group of people learning how to DLC all over again, right? Like I think that's like the biggest thing. You know, we had 2-game format the whole time in season 1, which was dog, water. So like, it's funny that you mentioned, Mac, that like at least I'm not sure if you shared this experience, Hannah, but for me, like I felt like season 1 and season 2 felt very similar in terms of like excitement and disappointment on an equal level because like there was a lot I hated about season 1, but I still had a great time, and there was a lot I hated about season 2, but I still had a great time for like different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Like I think like the direction, like because I went to the very first season 2 event DLC in Bologna, and that felt super undercooked of a DLC. The venue was very bland. There was like very few vendors. Like the people that were running the event clearly like didn't like everything was going so late into time. They didn't know how to handle like judge requests very well. It was just like really poorly ran. And I could see it just get better over time. Very similar to how the PPG DLCs went as well. So
Yeah.
I think for me, like my hopes and dreams for season 3, I think the format's good. I think 8 rounds of Swiss and then last 4 for day 2. I think it's a great format. I haven't heard anyone really complain about it at all. I think it's way better than 2-game format from a feels good, feels bad perspective. I hope the prizes are better, or like the promos. Like I think the promos are like one of the weakest parts of season 2. Like, who wanted Mulan charging ahead as a card? Why is Pegasus the promo? Like, why? Well, it's like a lot of weird questions, and you can even ask that for the Continentals this season. Like, why are half the Continental promos like out of rotation by the time Continentals is here? That's like kind of weird.
Yeah, that is very weird.
A lot of season 2, and you can tell by like listening to the lore cast and just looking from an outside window in, like this was a very much like a rushed, half-baked season 2, in my opinion. Like I can't fathom that they'd be like, oh yeah, these promos, they're gonna be for Continentals. They didn't realize like, oh, these cards are half of them are gone. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's like a big part of it. I hope the promos are better.
Not only for the DLCs, but also for the set championship cards. Maleficent Dragon was like incredible. That was the best card ever. And
you can't say that with Woody.
Well, yeah. Woody is also like another amazing card. But then in between, we had a Daisy Duck and other cards. So I'm just hoping that they continue the trend of like actual playable cards. I love the idea that the set champs card is a legendary, which is a card that some people won't have until they play in the set champ. So I think that's really awesome too.
Yeah. I also want CCQs to be like more fleshed out. And again, this is something they've admitted, like CCQs were supposed to be for season 3, but then they like brought them in for season 2. And you could tell because like I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but did you know that like if you like topped a CCQ, you got non-foil versions of like the DLC promo cards from like the prize wall, like the Elsa, Simba. Yeah, you actually get those, but like no one kind of cares, and like it was like not really like even like super enforced. It showed how half baked it was, but like they announced recently on Lorecast like. They're tripling the amount of CCQs for season 3 for both North America and Europe, which is great. Mm-hmm. We want more CCQs. I want those. I want more ways they're regionals. CCQs are effectively regionals. They're the exact type of event people have been asking for between DLCs and set champs, right? And they said that they're going to have unique promos and playmats, foil and non-foil, for rewards for CCQs. So there's even more incentive. It's not like a DLC light, right? These are going to feel like more interesting events to go to. So that's already like a huge plus for season 3 for me. More DLCs obviously would be great. I don't know. I think a lot of people, I understand like the disappointment of like there not being enough DLCs, but like I went to, I think just as many DLCs this season as I did last season. So like, I don't know. I think that problem only affects like the whales, the people that can and will go to every single DLC no matter what, right? So But like, I mean, I want more, right? Like,
Yeah.
give me more DLCs, give me more, right? Like, so that's kind of like a lot of my hope, and that they just continue to like just make the little stuff better. Like, I want a thing of water that. Like a big old thing of water at the event that I can go and grab a paper cup and just get a thing of water at real quick, right? If the venue doesn't have that, right? I want better judging, right? Like judging at the beginning, awful. Judging at the end, way better, right? For looking at Bologna to Indianapolis, right? This, and a lot of this is just regrowing pains. Like, I don't think people really caught on that, like, we're basically season 2 was just season 1 again in terms of like the experience of the people that were running it. But like now we're getting to the season 3 will be the real season 2 for Disney Lorcana, in my opinion. So, do you have any added thoughts there? And I kind of spoke a lot on there.
No, I think you hit on it, pretty much everything that I was thinking of too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for our listeners, we're about halfway through our questioning, and so we'll have about another hour and a half to talk about. No, it has been just a pleasure to be able to pepper you with questions. I love your insights, and I've always been a big fan of whenever you're on the pod, and so. Yeah, that's all I had, and I think that's all Mac had as well. Nathaniel?
Christian and Hannah, just want to say humongous thanks to you as always for joining us. I think you two offer such a unique and fun perspective on the game because it is such an integral part of your life, right? So not only do Christian, you and Hannah play, you play together, your kids play, you're attending so many events, right? Like, you two have, I think, a great perspective on the game, where it's going, where it's been. And so I think, I hope that our listeners can feel that as well. As they're listening to this episode and as we start turning the page towards season 3 with the excitement around that. I did also just want to echo that point about the promo cards. I hope we just pick Pixar stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Champs, right? Like, awesome. Just pick Pixar things and you're probably going to find forever, right? So, and that is huge that is now part of this game, and there are so many massive franchises coming, so much to be excited about for season 3. So as far as season 2 recap, thank you both so much for joining tonight and telling us about DLC Indy and maybe how the Infinity DLC that happens in 2029 can be better. So without
that sounds like a lot of rotations after. I'm ready for that one.
Exactly. So yeah, without any further ado, you can find us as always on Instagram, where we post regularly, or YouTube for the video and audio, or Apple Podcasts or Spotify for the audio version of this episode, as well as all the rest of our episodes. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all in the next one. And without any further ado, let's get the duck out of here.